you like what you're hearing, please consider supporting us by checking out our merch store available on Spreaker.com/TSWS. The link for it is there. Also, if you like what you're hearing, feel free to leave us a review on wherever or however you listen. You can do it on Spreaker by leaving a positive comment, and of course on iTunes by rating and reviewing us 5 stars, and on whatever possible program or site that you listen to SWRN on. Leave a nice review, leave a good comment, let us know your feedback. And also, if it's negative too, I always welcome constructive feedback. Thank you so much for listening, and now let's get back to your show. Alright, so we are here today with James Stanley, and James, of course, thank you for being with us. And of course, we're talking about, I'm really talking about Elizabeth Warren's campaign here, and that is, I think, as we kind of recap this primary in general, and she's now saying tonight to Rachel Maddow the following.
If he asked you to be his running mate, would you say yes?
Yes.
If Joe Biden asked you to be his running mate, would you say yes? Elizabeth Warren saying yes. And what do you make of that?
You know, I'm not shocked because, again, what I was talking about before, Warren had such an interesting campaign. You know, this is how I looked at Warren. You know, I actually liked her for some of it because, you know what, I watched her on the campaign trail on a couple of her live things she had put on her website. And when you look at her on the campaign trail, not in the debates, she doesn't talk about Medicare for all. Okay, she doesn't talk about the Green New Deal. Mm-hmm. She doesn't talk a lot about these progressive ideas in which she was talking about all the time during the debates. What she was talking about was almost sort of what Obama was talking about. She was literally saying that the way in which we are going to actually get people on health care is first and foremost fixing Obamacare. And that is the reason why a lot of older Americans...
She was pretty much doing this standard Democratic line.
Yeah, she was. And that's the reason why she was able to actually make herself look like a viable candidate, not necessarily for the nomination, but not like a Tulsi Gabbard, 1%. I mean, she was 10%, 13% in majority of the polls talking about Warren now. And the reason why, and then as we see after she dropped out, you know, this is where I'm quoting, and we see why a lot of Warren supporters walked over to Biden. They didn't even walk over to Sanders. And the reason why is because a lot
of them had already, like a lot of them, especially in that initial end, like when she dropped in that poll, like when she dropped, that was all the would-be Bernie supporters in her campaign leaving the ship. Like if people just who wanted to pretend to be progressive, like most people, like it was so few people by the end. Like Nevada, South Carolina, she was appealing to a very like infinitesimal like sector of the Democratic like electorate, but not nearly as infinitesimal as like someone like a Tulsi Gabbard or like, but still very. Like a very small, like very online, very like I'd say probably like white, wealthy, like group of people, and not really bringing anyone in. And she started off like such a much more of a progressive force. Like if Elizabeth Warren of the end of the campaign would not be doing that opening rally in Springfield, Massachusetts, the site of one of the most famous labor strikes in United States history. I think definitely not. It looks like we have a poor network connection with James. We're working on bringing that back up. James, where did you stop hearing me?
I stopped hearing you right when you said something in Las Vegas.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that was actually quite a bit ago. But yeah, I was kind of just like, I was pretty much just saying like she has such a small, Elizabeth Warren had such a small, white, wealthy portion of the group that just kind of want to pretend to be progressive. Like it was really kind of a interesting, she pretty much had a sector of the base of that went to Pete and Amy as well, I would say, much more.
Yeah.
And had a real problem with Bernie.
Yeah, she had a pretty big problem with Bernie, I would say.
And I think that was another big thing. Like, what was behind that? Do you think it was desperation or?
You know, I think when we look at with Warren, I think the problem that she really had here is that she wanted to look similar to Obama. She wanted to frame Biden as the Hillary of 2008. And, the fact of the matter is she also had Bernie then to fend off. And, she couldn't play like Obama did in 2008. And what I mean by that is Obama played similar to what Warren did. I mean, it worked for Obama in 2008. He was campaigning like a moderate till slightly to the left, which is similar to what Warren was doing on the campaign trail. And then when the debates came around, she would just hammer everyone and try to act as if she was, the best person on the stage to take on the fight of being the president, while showing that she can be, as well as doing that, she could also be the person who could bring about the most change, which is why she tried to look more like a progressive on the debate stage. Because Warren's supporters, for example, going back to Massachusetts, are pretty much similar to what Bernie's supporter was. And I think the main goal of her race was to do an Obama, to take enough support from Bernie, make him drop out, take enough from Biden, and then just get boosted up.
I think. Yeah, she tried to be the unity candidate. Like, she was really shifting away towards trying to be the unity candidate. But that she just went back and forth. And really, I think a lot of her campaign advisors that she started to take on, especially after the campaign declined a bit, or other campaigns declined, she imbued a lot of their staffers, their law staffers from Beto and maybe Gillibrand and Kamala, all those people, a big time from Kamala. And those people used to work on Hillary and Obama campaigns. And they're like, okay, triangulate on this, change your position on that. And I think that was a huge deal. And whoever told her, by the way, to say that thing that she said about Bernie Sanders, I think that was really the beginning of the embarrassing end for Bernie. And I think a lot of people, it started, I think the beginning of the end started for her around that time in that Bernie's back rally. And then the end of the end, it really hit rock bottom for her around when she really started kind of shedding more and more support around the time of Nevada, where she was the only group of exit polls that she won was adults who regularly use Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, Warren just kind of screwed up for herself by saying that, because no one could believe her. There was no proof about it. And then the other thing of the problem was, when you look at exactly what occurred, how can anyone believe what she said about Bernie? That's the thing that really kind of was a red flag.
Why? What was the point? She perfectly played herself into just absolute political relevance. Nobody was really doing that kind of. No one was really kind of falling for that. They just kind of really, I think, got annoyed. And Bernie, I don't think he was way too nice. That's something that it's just a trick that was just, I can't even look past. And it damaged a lot of her, really damaged her reputation. I was holding out respect for her a lot of the time through the primary. I was she's a real progressive fighter. She's anti-bank, and then she's very good economically. She's a good person. She wants generally the same things that Bernie does. But then that sexism charge was just absolutely, and for so many Bernie supporters, it really pushed down her view of our view of her in a lot of our heads, I think. And that was something that was just a just unbelievably stupid thing to do, because what she did get about Bernie, she tried to play herself into the arms of people and voters who already didn't trust her for her stances on the economy. She turned her own side in the back after already angering the other side, and she got really, I think, left out in the cold. It was really destroyed this campaign.
I mean, I'm not shocked at all. And Warren could have played it right if she didn't do that. And to be frank, I just, Warren's track record is definitely progressive, but I think at some time we have to realize that in some sense she isn't really reliable. And the reason why I say it is because when you look at where she was getting money from, not necessarily companies, but she said that she would be fine with having billionaires support her. She said that she was fine with having some corporations support. She even made a super PAC towards the end of her campaign.
That was in like that. That was like really, I think, when people like just all Bernie supporters' goodwill towards Elizabeth Warren. Like, not that many people had it or should have had it. That's when I think it went out the window.
Oh, definitely. I mean, that was the biggest influence, I would probably argue, that really pushed her downhill in the sense of where she was poll-wise, where she was actually getting at amongst the voters. But I think the other thing is Warren had a tough time making money, and the reason as to why is because she brought in money from her Senate campaign. I don't know if you remember about that as well.
Yeah, and that was another big thing I think didn't really go well with her, because she went after Buttigieg with the wine cave, and then the next day it took for the Buttigieg campaign to be like, well, you brought over money. I think maybe Pete responded on the spot being like, oh, you brought over money from your campaign as well. Like, you did the same thing and then decided to conveniently change your morals for the 2020 campaign while still benefiting from the thing that you did while your morals were supposedly bad. And the only person standing unscathed in that moral, like, tit for tat was, like, Bernie Sanders. And he came out with the incredible line there in the debate being like, oh, well, I see Pete has 44 billionaires, Biden has 66. Pete, you can catch up. Like, that kind of thing. So it was like, that was a very good representation of, I think, a lot of this stuff. And it really just shows you the kind of just Elizabeth Warren failing to land those punches was probably, I think, a pretty downward point of trend in the campaign for her.
Yeah. Warren, really, honestly, I'm just in so much awe right now because she started out so strong. And then, she just went so downhill so quick because of what she did with the sexist comment, and then also regarding many of her decisions, policy decisions, and other decisions that she made in her campaign that honestly really hurt her. And it's just really interesting to see how much it did.
Yeah, and Elizabeth Warren today raised more than $100 million without doing traditional big money fundraisers, though, for her presidential campaign. She gave her list of fundraisers to Joe Biden to do fundraising off of. Bernie Sanders, do you think he has, or do you think he has not?
What was the thing again about the?
Did he turn over his email list? Did he turn over his email list for fundraising?
For Bernie, do I think he should turn it over? Or do I know if he turned it over?
Do you think he did?
To who? To Warren?
No, to Biden.
I don't know about this one.
To Biden, like to help with the nomination after he endorsed.
I don't think he did. Well, actually, no. I mean, he might have actually. Do I think he should? I mean, it's really up to him, to be frank, because I mean, not every one of his supporters are going to vote for him, which I respect. Do I think he should? Look, I think what he should offer them is what's similar to what other politicians who have I signed up for. They send an email out. Do you want to be put onto this a politician's campaign list? Yes or no. And that's really, I think that's what he should do.
And they give you an option. But he actually did not. So he has said he will not be turning it over for fundraising. And I think that's something I expect. I would not like to be getting email lists from Joe Biden. I did not sign up for that. Like, that just pisses people off. Like, when you start getting spam emails from something you didn't sign up for. Like, they have to sign up for an independent. Like, build your own email list. And yeah, that is people are already. This is a tweet that Edward Isaac Dover of The Atlantic, who is a very anti-Bernie guy, he tweeted this out, and people are already kind of making fun of him for that on Twitter. So I mean, I think that's definitely something. Like, do you think the Bernie bro thing is going to be something that will be a problem for Joe Biden?
No, I don't. And the reason why I say no is because the fact of the matter is there's a good amount of Bernie supporters who don't have social media. And these are some of the Bernie supporters who do have social media, but I've also seen a lot of Bernie supporters who said that they would do it, vote for Biden. Not a lot, but I've definitely seen some that have said they would do it because he's the only guy who can get Trump out of office.